Thursday, January 23rd. Is there a motion to open the meeting?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we do have the minutes from December 5th, attached from there. Take a quick minute to look at that. Way back in December, edited emails out to review.
Yeah.
Is there a motion for the minutes?
Make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, no meeting mail, no appointment. So, all right. First off, we get Dana, FY year-to-date revenue and rounds update.
All right, so that's the spreadsheet, with the three rows of columns. The top numbers are the 25 plan. The middle columns are the 26, our current actual numbers, and then the below that is last year's actuals. So if you look at November on your top rows, that is our forecast for 106, 180, and we actually did 128, 827. And if you follow to the right over to the the shaded cells, year to date for the plan is 1.136, and we're in 1.291. So that gives us, looking at, we're up 155 currently. And then if you go down to the shaded cell on the last box, 1.2, that was last year's actual year to date for the first months through November as well. So we've exceeded that as well. So that's decent.
Dana, pass holders went crazy, huh?
Well, yes. So if you remember the previous meeting, we were having a discussion regarding passes and October sales, and the fact that the vendor was having a difficult time setting up the print, and I don't know if it was the ink or the setup or man hours or what, but he couldn't accomplish the task. I had made him aware late August. We went all through September. I was on them. October went through. We missed our normal October promotion, which I don't think we were going to actually initiate this year anyways with anything free, because
Right.
we're jam-packed, so that doesn't make any sense to give it away. So then anyways, we did get them in right out of the gates. As you can see, November through December, we
Yeah, I can
did
see
39,000.
Yeah.
And if you look at the previous November, we did 13,000.
Yeah.
In October, you did 29.
Right.
You put those two together, and we still beat that number. So they came out in droves for the passes. So we have a solid foundation of loyal golfers.
Do they have a way of letting people know that the passes are available at Town Hall now? We had a guy come down yesterday at 3:15. They wanted to buy a pass.
No, passes are not available at the
Oh, they're
town
not
hall.
available at Town Hall?
No, no,
Okay.
only we sell them
Gift
because
cards were, right?
gift cards they can do
Yeah.
at the town hall, and that's listed on the door. Closed for the season, gift cards at the town hall. But any of the season passes have to be done at the pro shop
So
through
we'll
the
tell him
POS
he has to
system.
come back in March or April?
Yes, exactly. There's no off-season sales for the passes, and that is done specifically with our pricing program. We haven't established next year's rates. We
Yeah.
sell passes through the end of the season. That's why you see kind of a little surge. People trying to beat the curve on any price increases should we have them. Previous years we've gone, one on, one off, or one on, two off. But as we discussed, we're trying to synergize our pricing structure. As we came out of COVID, with the inflation surge, we made a move on our regular rates, but we hadn't touched our pass holder rates in some time, so
Long
they
time,
they
yeah.
they need a significant bump, and that'll be discussed later.
No, that's just caught my eye.
Oh, it looks good though, or at least
Yep.
ahead of planning last year. So I put on here, the expense update, because a lot of times we always talk about revenue, and we don't really talk about where we are. So just a quick update as to how the spending has been halfway through that. And I put in everybody's package just in case they didn't have it.
Perfect.
As well. I asked Dick to print it for me because I wasn't sure what you guys were going to have, so I also have Nick's printed out in here.
Well, what Nick, if you remember, back about this time last year, around budget time, we had come up with a budget, and then we went to the Board of Selectmen, and discussed with the Board of Selectmen and Town Administrator. They came back with some requested changes. Well, when Nick printed this out, he did say, he emailed it to me back on the 15th of December, something like that, we printed it out. He put in numbers that didn't include the changes that the Board of Selectmen had requested to be made. So if you go down to where it says salary maintenance employees, it says 294,670. That should be 302,960. If you go down to fringe benefits, it says 31,250. It should be 42,500. If you go down to maintenance energy, it's got 10,000. That should be 12,376. If you go down to insurance, it's on the second page. That should be the insurance is listed at 15,000. That should be 32,500. They took the golf cart leases and they added the service contract to that, so that number should be 85,350, and your capital projects should be 37,808. It still comes out to the same $2,036,247. It's just that they did not make those particular corrections when Nick put this together. So when I mentioned that to him, he said as long as the bottom line's correct, we can make the changes. Or
Yeah, how does that number add up without those changes, though?
Well, you gained some and you lost some. For instance, here he has capital projects at 84,000.
Gotcha.
The 84,000 isn't correct. It's supposed to be 37,000. So right there, you grab almost 50 grand. So I put it in in that packet that I gave you. When we get to the budget, you'll see this year's budget, which includes the appropriate numbers, and you can see where it tallies down at the bottom to the same 2 million and change.
So yeah, if you are looking at that, I took a peek through it. I mean, the only one I'm running real tight is Pro Shop supplies, because prices have gone up, and as we discussed at the last meeting, as we came out of COVID, I never really caught up on stocking the Pro Shop. I kind of just let some gaps develop, because essentially we're impulse sales on hats, gloves, and balls. That's what, we're looking to move. And so that's what I stocked. But as things play out, you need mid-layer, you need some sweatshirts, you need regular shirts, you need shorts. And through the season, I haven't filled any of those gaps. But and also with inflation, the price of balls, gloves, and hats goes up. So that's chewed up pretty much the majority of our budget. And we are currently light on balls. So I don't foresee having a problem finishing the season. It might be a little bit tight, and I have other areas that I can cover that spot. But moving into the next season, that's one of the reasons why I bumped up my Pro Shop budget by a little bit, is because with the cost increases, I'd like to, offer a product line with reviewing when these people in the store. So, and
Balls are going up.
one thing with, and as I discussed in the last meeting, at least investing in Pro Shop supplies is you get keystone return on it, so you're making money on it. It's not just gone. So it's an opportunity.
And the credit card fees, is that, looks like we spent 29,000 already in fees. It seems a little high, but I know everybody pays with the credit card now.
Yeah, I think that was one of the ones too that on the new budget, we were going up on that number, because somehow they fell behind on that number in budgeting it, and I think we went over it. Let's see.
Well, they said year to date, there's 8,900 left in that
Yeah.
credit card fee account,
Not
according to Nick's report here.
Not sure what we spent, credit card fees. Yeah, so we're looking to go to 37,000 in the next budget. But yeah, it's gonna run a little bit tight.
I don't have any, we're gonna, obviously, we're gonna be, depending on how the weather comes out, in the spring, fertility products and pesticide products, you might be a little tight on to get through June. In the utilities category, we're probably going to be over in that. We decided at the selectmen's meeting that the energy costs for the pump station should come out of the maintenance budget and not the pro shop or operations budget. So I gave them best estimate that I could, and we're probably going to be a little bit short. Although that should be covered in the amount that they, budgeted for energy-wise in the pro shop energy account, because it's not getting charged to that.
Right.
So,
Should
and the
balance.
other item right now is our supplies. I'll probably be over in that, but I don't see that to be significant enough to have any impact on the overall budget. Let me look here, year to date, you've spent, where is this? Let me see, you spent $62,213. Now, my number's a little bit more up to date, because everything that, as soon as I do an invoice, I put it into my spreadsheet. The town's usually, about a month or so behind. You spent $62,213.39 on golf cart leases. You spent $57,340 on 60 cents on equipment leases. And we've spent $4,110 on Medicare through November. We just got the year-to-date numbers for the finance for December, so I can put those in and match them. We don't get, the Medicare is 1.5% of your payroll expense, so we don't get the Medicare number until the finance department puts out their sheet. But other than that, I don't have any real significant concerns about the budget. The one thing I will mention about the budget is that in discussion, when I went to the selectmen's meeting to discuss the sprayer and the bunker project, the question of where we were going to fund that came up, and the anticipation, which we can discuss later, is to use the remaining funds in the one article, which is approximately $100,000, and then make up the difference in budget savings, which I don't think we'll have any problem doing. It's just that, but like I said, that'll have a $37,000 impact on what the bottom line budget is by the end of June.
Right.
Depending on when we, again, we'll be talking about that in a few minutes, depending on when we get moving on that.
And Steve and I had reviewed that issue in his office the other day, and I had told him, like, well, if it gets tight on in that process, we didn't use 1 penny out of the new clerical for the pro shop, the 22,000. We didn't touch that, so that upon the closing of the fiscal year, you can use those funds and transfer them into any spot that you need them. I don't foresee me using, we did hire Lori Hanahan, we'll use some of those funds, but we're not even gonna, we're not gonna put a dent in that. So that can be used to cover the needs of those projects.
Oh, and the one thing I forgot to mention, of the capital, the line item 37,080, we have spent to date $7,711.90, which included hardware for one of the irrigation controllers, replaced 2 of the walk rotaries that we use around the clubhouse, architectural service for the bunker renovation, and the hot water pressure washer.
So what's left in that account is what?
$29,368.
So between those
right
two
now.
accounts,
Now, there'll probably be, right now, I've been battling back and forth trying to get if you remember, this time last year, we approved $4,000 and change to do repair the gate, front gate, and replace the stones along the entranceway with a guardrail, and to take the rocks out by the entrance gate and put a guardrail there, the guardrail being that which is similar to that which is down on Lake Street that the DPW had,
Is that wooden one?
yeah, the wooden one with the big, big blocks and so on. The gate's been repaired, the gate works fine. The only problem now is that we haven't been able to get him back to do that other work, so he hasn't charged me anything yet. So at some point, that'll be, I've got the, the quote on my desk. I could go back but it'll be $4,000 and change somewhere in there. And he was going to come this week and do the fence. The holes are already dug up by the gate for the for the fencing that goes up there, but with the snow and what have you, and having to set those in concrete and whatnot, he's not going to be here this week.
10 degrees.
Yeah, I'm not going to set up.
All right. Any other questions on the year-to-date expenses? All right, we'll move on to any proposed changes for the rates for next year. I know we talked about it briefly last time.
Yes.
This is what you gave us last time, right?
Yeah, yep.
Same, right?
Same thing, yep.
Okay.
Let's see here.
I got no problem with any of this.
No, I agree.
So, the 2025 is the middle column. The increase is on the right side. I have it mislabeled 2024, but that's the increase. I just copied the column over. So essentially, if you're looking at $5 across the board, 4 on Twilight, and that was essentially balancing out the price points of the past increases to take place, so that again the step system was in place, and people that were playing Twilight wouldn't be going to buy your season passes. They would just pay the Twilight rate as they should. And then our outing rate has an increase on it, and if you check the market prices, we have been significantly lower than our competition. I mean, dramatically for quite some time, and it's more work, more people, and the demands are there. We've had some concerns with regards to our product mix, and so that's the proposal of that for that rate. So I mean, this is just brainstorming, throw it out, and I have it on the budget, but the proposed rate increase revenues is in the bottom column on the shaded. It comes out to essentially 188K. So obviously any change, $20 in there will impact that number as well. So, but food for thought. We don't have to make, you don't have to make a decision tonight, obviously, but you can run the numbers, do some calculations, check how they run against the season passes, look at our weekday rates, compare our pass rates, check our weekend rates, check our pass rates, and see if you feel that they jive. And then feel free to check online some of the local golf courses outing rates. They're typically high 80s, 90s. So we've been a steal.
I don't see why we don't, I don't know, David, vote on this now. I mean, I'm fine with what you did. I think it's...
Yeah, it's up to you guys. There's no pressure.
No,
one thing I would like to say, though, is as we discuss it where we're going, right, and you eventually have a facility there, and you're going to have, probably similar outings, if not more outings, possibly, or even if you maintain the same amount of outings, you might want to mandate, listen, you come here for an outing, what meal are you selecting? You know what I mean? It's not, you just can't come and go. You come and eat, and that's the function. And if you're not one of those functions, then we slide a function that wants to play golf and eat and have it there. But that's, I mean, that's a business decision to be made down the road, but that's basically how it's done at places that have kitchens and facilities and a full bar, and, you know, essentially, that's part of the reason why you build a building, is so that if you do have a customer, they can take advantage of that opportunity, rather than, because a lot of times what I've heard over the past is, if people jump ship and we have to go somewhere else, that's one of the drawbacks of the event, because you have 144 that play golf, but only 100 guys show up to eat, because 40 of them just break off and go home because they don't want to spend another 4 or 5 hours at the function, and that doesn't allow that outing to actually reap the rewards of the collective group and fundraising. So, I mean, that's just part of the picture.
And I know it ties into this sheet in this proposed increase in rate, given the existing projection of rounds. You know, it appears that it will fund any of the increases we think we're looking at for next year. Is that correct?
Yes. And so what I did is, on the bottom of the budget submission, I basically calculated, I mean, obviously this is just a forecast of what our current play is. This doesn't, you know, take into consideration a black swan event, we go to war, and or the economy tanks and play diminishes. If we have the same amount of play that we've previously had for the last 3 or 4 years, if you calculate it out, you'd be looking at a forecasted profit of 134 with the proposed increases, with the new budget numbers that would be, you know, again, that's not a hard plan, but with that said proposal of that budget, that's where it would fall, unless there are some changes that take place.
All right. So I just wanted to make sure that, you know, the two tie together. Right?
Yes.
So we're not setting ourselves up for
A deficit.
I mean, I know none of us have a weather crystal ball, but I mean, at least on paper, based on.
Yes, essentially with the numbers, this should play out relatively well for us.
If any of you guys want to make a motion, that's fine by me. Or
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we accept the proposal that is in front of us for a rate increase for 2025. I'll make a motion.
Second.
any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so
There you go, Dan, good job.
pass on to the selectmen, right, because they also approve rates,
Yes,
I think. they-
yep.
Just sit.
So that leads into, sorry, I know, I mean, I don't know the exact time frame, but I know the town administrator was asking other departments as far as like putting together their budgets. Has this gone to them at all? Is this still just you guys putting this together? right
This is just
This
us.
hasn't gone to anybody,
Okay.
and if you look, I don't know if it's included in there, but in the information you're holding in your hand, Dave, I think the second to the last page is a copy of a memo, I don't know if the town administrator forwarded it to you, of a timeline. The one that I gave you was on with the paper clip at the top. The last page, I think, is about the town plan, but the one before that is I don't know if the budget's on that timeline, but if you look,
Budget,
Yeah, it
March
says-
2025,
yeah,
budget review.
they don't, for instance, they sit down,
Budget meetings, April,
they sit down in February with the school department, FinCom, school budget, and so on. Once they usually try to get that pretty much covered, then they attack everybody else.
March 11th.
So, you're somewhere, down in that scheme. So no, this has only been presented, so far, second draft with a few different numbers. That's only been presented to, for you guys to look at.
So then,
As far as what I had provided to you at the last meeting, the only thing that changed, Mr. Kelly advised that we have a 9.5% increase in the fringe benefit category. Now, the fringe benefit category takes into consideration health insurance, workers' comp insurance, and unemployment. And I believe his 9.5% was specifically aimed at health insurance, but given that we have no real breakdown of what constitutes the current 42,005, for instance, how much is health, how much is workers' comp, and so on. I took the whole 9.5% against the whole nut. So, and the other increase that I didn't have before was in the actual insurance line item, and that insurance, the way they explained it to me, was property and casualty insurance, and he recommended 6.5% there. So if you look down at the bottom of that handout I gave you with the yellow line at 574400, that was recommended by the town administrator. And the only other thing that I think I might have to reconsider is the energy line item, because for maintenance, because I don't think it's going to be high enough to cover the pump station cost, because we're right about borderline. There's only $108 left in that line item right now. And I haven't, you've got February through June to get through. But if you notice, I mean, we're, again, FY25 budget has $28,600 in energy for the pro shop, which, again, the pump station energy isn't coming out of there. So there should be residual there to cover the energy expenses that I might be able to budget in, since we didn't budget enough for the pump station in my line item.
The only thing on the face of it I think that I personally might like to see is, with the long-term debt payments going down to 29,150, maybe we take the 29,150 and add it to the capital projects line.
Sure.
So we kind of keep big picture capital, same spending, but now we can go right into any upgrades or projects we need within the operating budget next year, instead of putting it towards the debt payment, since that's going
Yeah.
down. And then I don't think it's going to add too much to the, they're going to add 29,000 out of 2 million, so not very much in total.
Yeah.
We got left 2 years?
I think it's
2027.
Yeah, for the full payments, it should be this one and one more full payment, and then a very tiny payment the next year after that. Just the way the timing of the payments fall.
It's been a long road. Man.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has. Yes.
Other than, if anyone else have any other questions, it looks like it's kind of self-explanatory going down through the lines that they are. I know you explained to us before, Steve, the cost of your supplies mainly, and the pressure on those going up.
Well, that's the thing that we're finding is it's not only the pressure of the cost of the actual product itself isn't going up so much as is the provider's means of getting it to you. For years now, they've been passing on fuel costs, which they've increased. They've been passing on trucking costs, delivery costs and so on, which actually, in the past really hadn't had to figure into these calculations. And most of the time, when I speak with the primarily the fertilizer and pesticide suppliers, they routinely look at anywhere from 3 to 5% increase. Which in actuality, even if you look at the pesticide line item, you're looking at $4,500 increase, depending on what you're spraying on one particular time. That's one application for 29 acres of fairways. So it helps, but you've got to kind of play back and forth with the weather and see what you're going to have to spend and what you're not going to have to spend. But, everything, you technically speak, if you look down at the bottom, we're basically a 2.72% increase over, we went from 2,036,247 to 2,091,653. Now, of course, that'll change somewhat, as you mentioned, if we because we left the capital in at 37,000 without any change.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to increase the capital to any particular extent, that may change that number, but like you said, not significantly.
Any other questions on Dave, why don't you just walk us through what's been going on in the past month? The operations update. I know it's shut down, but
Yeah,
what's been going
we're
on?
essentially closed. Basically, we're following up. There's been some turnover with Titleist, so we're reestablishing our contacts for products and going through, seeing where the gaps are, reviewing what they have for products and prices, what would fit what we need. We're doing that. Essentially, it's a status quo with regards to that. We're setting up our leagues, our junior events for next season. We're taking calls, giving them dates, our ladies events, outings, and then researching with our vendors for food and beverages as there's new products that might fit our product line. We're basically, essentially at this point, a grab and go facility. So if some vendor comes up with a new product that fits our product lines, we probably plug and play. There's always new canned cocktails that are coming out, new varieties. So review what's on the market and see if it'll fit in with our products. I would like to speak to the last meeting. At the end of the meeting, when I had left early, there was some inquiries with regards to our website and what's posted on the website, and guess it was not sure if our rates have been on the website for 20 years. So if any customers want to know what the rates are or leagues, you go there and the rates are on there. Anything that's happening with regards to outings or events, that is also listed. Our ladies league events, our weekly games that they play, those are listed. Any upcoming junior events, so that parents that are traveling a far distance, they know the times that those events take place. So all that information is accessible on the website. So I just want to point that out.
Is aeration on there?
We did put in the last couple years, but we avoided that in the past. Just because typically, if you put it out there, guys would avoid playing for a week, but that hasn't even been the case as of late. When we aerate, whoever doesn't show up, somebody else is there filling the gap, and we're there. What I would like though, because I think Steve changed the maintenance Mondays, revised the list, so
And
we should
that's
probably
on there?
we should.
That's on there, maintenance Monday?
Maintenance Mondays we will put on there.
Okay.
I would like to review what those dates are and how they coincide with what the current outing schedule is. Just see make sure there's no conflicts at this point.
On the list. And again, they're all proposed, they're not cast in stone. I think the last meeting, Dave corrected a couple of my dates because I was too close to particular holidays. I'm not used to taking holidays off, so. But yeah, we'll be looking at that here shortly.
Then we can go right into Steve's maintenance update then.
All right, well, we have a few things to bring you up to date on, that, some of the projects we've been doing this winter, and we've got, with the acquisition of the hot water pressure washer, we've been able to pressure wash all the equipment with the exception of the 2 sprayers. The cold weather set in before we could actually get those done. We did have quite a bit of success with that, especially cleaning of the reels undercarriages of the machines where we normally can't get during the course of the year, at least not adequately sometimes. So we finished that equipment. We had been having some complaints from some of our clients about the entryway road and the fact that it was becoming overgrown, and not so much that it was sticking out into the road itself, but it was making it difficult for people to see coming around the corners. So we went back and we cut that back on both sides about anywhere from 15 to 20 feet in some places.
Good.
Yeah, looks great.
And it opens it up to see, and we haven't put it up yet, but we have one of the circular highway mirrors we bought that's going to go on that corner there where the guardrail is going to be, so you can see in the two directions who might be coming up. But once the guardrail's put in, if the guardrail doesn't get in before we open, we'll just put it on a pressure treated post and then connect the post to the guardrail once it's in there. We've been able to clean the grill. Actually, we were able to get about 95% of the baked in stuff off it. So it looks pretty good, and it's in really good shape. We've cut back, we have certain areas on the golf course that were created as native areas at the onset of the golf course, and those get cut once or twice a year. We've got all of those cut. There are some places where some heavier woody vegetation came up, specifically behind the 12th tee, which we have to go in and cut that down. We do that about once every 2 years. The bush hog can't cut it, it's just a little bit too thick. We've repaired and restained all the benches, and we've cleaned all our course accessories, signs, stakes, and what have you. We're currently working on the pond edges out on the 14th and the 15th hole. We're going to start working on cutting back of brush along the tree lines and along the fairway edges in particular spots. Reel sharpening and bearing and seal replacements an ongoing operation. We have over 35 some odd reels that need to be rebuilt, sharpened, and what have you. All the equipment, once it gets power washed and once the reels are done, gets waxed and arm-rolled, so it's ready for the next season. We do have some tree pruning to do, which we'll address here in a minute. And bunker edging, in addition to sand and bunkers, will be ongoing moving forward. We do a winter filling of all the par 3 tee divots, and then we'll top dress greens and tees once the snow dissipates, and let that settle in before we start the season. And we do have some of the water cooler houses that we have to repair. So those are the things we'll be doing for the rest of the winter. We try to split our work up so we have some residual indoor work, so when we get these days where the wind's blowing and it's 5 degrees outside, it's really not conducive to doing any tree work or brush cutting, and it's basically safer for our guys to keep them inside. So we save some of those projects. We've also been picking quite a few balls off the driving range. We filled the ball machine on the driving range, and there's 2 55-gallon barrels in the shed full of balls, plus there's 3 or 4 barrels in our shop. So we should have plenty of golf balls to start and reserve. Because sometimes you just can't get to picking the bloody thing, and you need to reserve. So we keep one barrel in the shop. So if we have an emergency, we can send that down. As far as tree work goes, there's a list of trees in certain areas that I'd like to remove or prune. Initially, if we're going to do the cart path work on the second hole, there's some trees on that corner, additional trees that are going to have to be taken out. That's to the left of the back tees on the second hole. Mm-hmm. We're trying to, I'd like to be able to push back a portion of the tree line on the right side of the second fairway to give us a little bit more definition of the hole, and to try to get people to start using the right-hand side of the tees. The only tees, the back 2 tees, the blue tee and the black tee, nobody uses the right-hand side of the tee.
Yeah, there's that pine tree over there that's hanging.
Well, that one big one, that one's going to stay. But
That's what makes the whole difference.
some of them down a little bit further,
needs to stay.
could be pushed
Go to the
back.
right side on number 2, and that's right there.
Well, we
Go to
can
the
look.
left
I mean,
side.
I could take it down, but
Oh,
it is a nice accent tree. Then if we move further down the back right-hand corner of the second green, there's a few trees there, a portion of which interfere. I mean, those trees, the back right-hand side of the second green, have been marked for 4 years. They're marked for so long that the tape wore out and fell off of some of them. down on the right side of the third green, right before you turn the cart path corner, there's a couple oaks that should be taken off there. Left side of that fairway bunker / waste area, there's 3 or 4 trees that shade the third green that we'd like to take down. The other thing, we're going to, seeing as how that's not going to be included in the bunker work, we're going to go down there and reestablish the bunker, portion of the bunker up by the green. And depending on the time and amount of material we have, we may come across and make an embankment, so we have a traditional, grass-shaped or sand bunker, and then behind it is going to be left to be a waste area for now, until we decide whether or not we're going to do any work. Something that we can do just to have an appropriate sand trap area up by that green.
All right, so how far are we cutting that?
What's that?
The bunker on the left, right? Where you're cutting
Yeah, I'd probably take the front third of it
the
and
front part of it, yeah.
up by the green,
Yeah.
up by the green embankment.
Yeah.
We're going to reestablish the front edge.
Right.
I've got to dig down and find that drain pipe is clogged. It works, but it takes forever to drain that bunker, so I've got to dig down, find the end point of that drain pipe and either replace it or try to fish through it and see if we can open it up.
And behind it, Steve, you're just gonna let it grow?
Behind that, yeah.
Just
It's not going to grow all that much because it's basically sand. But there's a lot of ledge and stuff in there that they just covered over.
That's what I was gonna say.
And you can't, I don't know, I don't even know if you went down there with the excavator whether you'd be able to take a good portion of it out or not. That was the whole idea. That's why that was a $57,000 proposition for that one hole, for that one bunker, because they're going to strip it down, slope the fairway edge, because the water comes all the way from the cart path across the fairway down through and just washes out the bunker every time it rains. And the embankment wasn't rolled properly, so the embankment goes like this now. So when you try to cut it, the rough mower just goes up and down through the whole embankment.
Can you put, just curious, fescue in that half? That
You can try. That's the other thing. The other thought we've had. We've got a pretty decent accumulation of plugs in a couple places around the golf course. That
Right-hand side.
we could take those out there. Spread them out.
Yeah.
Run the Sand Pro or something over to try to mix them in with the sand
Right.
to dilute the sand somewhat,
Make
and then
it grass.
we could seed it and see what
So
we
you
got out
got
of
a
it.
tall fescue area that will help suck up the water somewhat?
Well, I don't know. The water all collects in the front portion of the bunker.
Right, yeah.
The back portion towards the tee, the water doesn't sit.
No.
So you would look to maintain that then? You were going to
We're
grass it?
going to recreate the bunker along the green
Right.
edge. The playable portion, the front third. The
Yeah.
back 2/3 of it, we're going to let sit as it is. We're not going to, the front portion, we'll recut the edge, try to put a new back edge on it. We'll add some additional sand, fix the drainage, just clean it up so it plays nicely until we decide whether or not we're ever going to do anything
I know,
with
but
it.
conceptually, when you're saying put the plugs and mix it, then you're thinking grass it?
That's in the back third, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Then you're
mean,
going to eventually cut it, right?
yeah, it would, if it were, it depends on what comes up. And it depends on, you could leave it, you could leave it tall, but it's really not I think it would become more of a hindrance to people if you left it too long.
Yep.
Especially where it is
Short
located
hole.
between the two holes.
Too long time. There's
It
always
really,
backup there anyway.
the problem with that bunker is that it's another one of those bunkers that kind of penalizes the not too good golfer. Because a decent golfer is going to take a 3-iron off the tee and hit it down there 57 yards from the green, pop it up on the green and putt.
Right.
The other, the guys who are, 20, 15, 20, 25, 30 type
You're going to
handicaps.
live in that bunker.
Everybody's in it, and they're in the shallow end of it, the back end, the tee end of it, so.
But it's starting to outcrop there, like the ledge, right, in that bunker.
Yeah, well, that's why they didn't ever pulled it out, they just covered it.
It looks big to me.
So what,
Yeah.
when is this coming about, or when do you think you're gonna do this?
Well, I think we're
just
gonna
have
do
a
it in the
question
spring.
To find what's
Yeah, I
spring?
mean, we could get down there, depending on what we do for tree work and how the weather treats us, I mean, we can get down there and cut the edge out now. It's just, you know, I'm not gonna do it in the
That's
snow.
gonna change the play in that hole,
Yeah, it'll make it better.
right? So you'll have a bunker, and then that whole bunker that was there won't be there.
Right, guys should
It's
be able to
just
play that.
playable.
Yeah,
So that has to be known eventually, that
Yeah,
it's no
regraded.
longer a long bunker, the bunker is only a third, which they can probably see, but when we first start that project, they'll still be playing in sand bunker if we don't say anything.
yeah, well, I mean, you can post signs in it that's a waste area, and then they
Yeah,
have a
this is a playable area.
play, you know, same thing like to the right of the fifth hole, when you
Yeah.
get down by the approach.
Yep.
Or the left of the second
Yeah.
hole,
Yeah.
if you happen to shake it down in the pucker brush down
It's a
there.
good idea.
Where are we tree wise? Left, we did the fairway bunker. We have a few trees left between the 8th hole and the 9th tee that I didn't get out, that I would probably like to take out because they continue to shade the 8th green in the morning. And to the right of the 10th tee, there's a few trees to the right of the forward tee, which is not a big deal. A few smaller trees, probably won't even notice they were gone. And then down by the 10th green, there's a few trees off in that waste area in the middle that have gotten large enough now that on the frosty days, they shade the front right-hand portion of the 10th green, which delays us some time in getting folks out there. So I'd say all total, there's probably about a dozen or so trees. I haven't done any tree work, substantial takedown, because I don't know what the committee's feeling is going forward about going out there and viewing trees. Obviously, if the tree's a dead tree or if it's a hazard, I'm going to take it out, just so we don't have a possible injury for some of our clients. But other trees that, you know, I don't know how people feel about trees, positioning of trees and so on. People have different opinions of them, so most of the trees that we're discussing are not in the field of play unless you're significantly off the field of play. It's not going to help anybody significantly by taking them out. It will help the grass a little bit, so.
Take them out, helps the grass, that's a good thing.
I offer those up for folks to consider. I'd like to get some input on that sooner than later, because once we finish the embankment around the pond on the 15th hole, we're going to move to doing some of this tree work. I will mention that any of the trees that we take down, there may be one or two that are too big for me to take down, that I may have to have somebody come in and work on, but all the stumps, the trees that would be taken out would be ground, and that would have to be done by an outside company. So I've got somebody lined up to do it. I just, keep on putting them off.
The project you did on 6 worked out, because that was very effective on that
Yeah.
green. So, I mean, I'm all in favor of, if the greens, if it opens up the greens to get more sunlight.
All right, now how about the trees that are on the backside of the third green? Are we gonna be able to get those removed?
Yeah, Kevin started working on those last week. The problem with some of them, it gets kind of damp down there when it rains. And, if we had an excavator sitting out there, they'd be done already. But I would have a 40 horsepower tractor with forks on the front. We can pick up one of those things at a time. So he's got started on it. We moved the oak out of there already. We brought that up to the shop, cut it up into, basically movable portions, came up the next day, and it's all gone. And, I'll mention it again.
Oak came again.
Well, I'll mention it again. I mean, several years ago when we started doing tree work and we accumulated a significant amount of hardwood, the selectmen had, at one of their meetings, said that wood there could be made available at no cost to the town residents. I mean, I'll cut it up and I'll put it down, obviously I'm not going to load somebody's truck, because 9 times out of 10 we're not there to do it anyway. But any time that we're open, if there's material there, and we had 2 or 3 people just down in the last week to clean this out, so there's nothing there right now. But-
I'd love to see a good Samaritan help out some older folks that probably need some heat.
Well, there used to be a couple older guys, we would come down, when we specifically knew they were coming, we'd help them, we'd cut it up into manageable sizes and help them load. But the past year, they haven't been back, so, maybe, at least not yet, anyway. We have a list of the spring projects there. Obviously, we go through our equipment prior to opening to make sure everything's functioning right once we put everything back together. We mentioned the fence and the guardrail project up by the entrance. That's something that we hope to get finished before we open in the spring. And again, there's the traffic mirror that we had mentioned earlier. We have, last year, prior to doing the cart path work, on the 8th and 9th holes, we had a surveyor come out and mark our boundary. Currently, it's marked by oak stakes. We're going to go out there and probably put, I'd like to use concrete bounds, the type that they use for people's property, or at least maybe a galvanized post, 2 or 3 feet in the ground, 1 or 2, 2 or 3 feet above the ground, paint the top orange, just so we know where that boundary line is and we don't lose it. Obviously, you could always have somebody come out and survey it again, but why go through the cost if we can mark it. The bunker edging, we have, at the last meeting that this committee had, we approved for a gate to be installed down by behind and to the right of the 8th green. We have to get a price for that and a time which that can be done. And we also had a request 2 or 3 meetings ago with the concern on the second hole with the lip that is created by the cart path curbing. So we'll be doing some measurements down there, cutting the sod out, and then filling in so there's an even. You don't, when you step over the curb, you won't be stepping down. The grass will come up even to the top of the curb, and we'll just slope it and bleed it into the tee so it doesn't look irregular. And those are basically some, besides, depending on when the weather changes, when things warm up, when we open up, we have, there's a lot of other things that I didn't think would be necessary just to put down here, but that's the kind of work or project work we'd be doing in the spring. Now, cart path work, again, this is at the discretion of the committee. My suggestions were finish the second tee, the end up by the black and the blue and the black tees. This side of the bridge.
Right?
Huh?
Those are crumbling already anyways, right?
Well, it's the roots causing the problem. The tree roots have heaved it, and it makes kind of a mess. And then my recommendations were the first tee, the cart path on the 18th hole, especially by the green, the 10th tee, and the 11th tee. One thing I will mention is that in order to accomplish work on the back cart path adjacent to the back tees on the second hole, you have to get access out there. And the plan, the plan, and I marked it out about 2 years ago, I think the markings are still there.
Yeah, they are.
Was to come off the cart path. We have to get asphalt trucks in there and have to get the excavator in there. So we were going to make a road similar to that behind the 5th green inside the tree line on the first hole. You wouldn't see it from the first hole, but it would be in the woods. So instead of having, because the trucks won't fit on the existing cart path, and besides they tear it to pieces.
Right.
And it's either that or drive on the fairway or drive through the sand trap. So we don't want that. So if we were to do that work, we'd have to construct that road. And again, the one thing I want to emphasize here, and the cost of cart path work and the timing of cart path work for us is significantly dependent on whether or not we will be permitted to get assistance from the DPW. And that all depends on what Dan's schedule would be, and sitting down and talking with him. And again, it would be, and I want to emphasize this for anybody out there in TV land who's listening, we pay for all the materials, we pay for the labor. and we don't interrupt DPW's schedule. If DPW has something that needs to be done, town requirement-wise, that's their first responsibility, and they take care of that, and they've done a nice job for us. The difference being is your cart path cost is going to go up at least 1.5 to almost twice as much, because if you have to put it out to bid, first of all, you have to come up with the bid documents and specifications, and then you have to put it out at prevailing wage. And that will, that's why I can't give you a cost. I have no idea. I can give you dimensions, and if the DPW does it, then Dan and I can figure out a cost schematic. We'll figure out what we, obviously you pay however many hours they work by what they, are normally paid an hour. That comes out of our budget. It doesn't come out of, town budget and so on. So that's where cart path work sits. I mean, Dan Tibbetts, the fellow who does, he does beautiful cart path work, but it's going to have to be, bid document specifications is going to have to go out to bid, just like the T work did. So, after, speaking of the bunkers, we have, as everybody knows, the last meeting we made the presentation of the, except for Neil, made the presentation on the bid that we received. We only received one bid for the cart path work. Holes 6, 7, and 10 total was $137,000. The work for the
Bunker work.
Excuse me. Bunker work.
You said carpet.
Did I say cart path?
Yeah.
It's stuck on cart path. We got the one bid, $137,000 for holes 6, 7, and 10. Now we have 2 time periods that were proposed in the bid documents, or in the contractor's bid. Now, the contract time is within 5 to 6 weeks of commencement, actually 5 weeks of commencement. In the spring, you have any time after the 31st of March to be completed by the 27th of June. Or you have the fall, which is any time after 18 August, to be completed substantially by 15 November, with final completion to occur by 29 November. Now, you have a couple things here to consider. First of all, Dane and I we talked about this the other day, which time period is most likely going to impact your play most significantly, number one. And number two, we got to get moving, because this man is filling his schedule. I talked to him last week, and he's got one project in the fall, and he's got 2 other projects in that same August to November time period that he's holding off on now until he gets a commitment from us either way. If we don't, and he wants a commitment in writing, because if he doesn't get a commitment in writing, he's just going to have to, that man's got to make a living, so he's got to schedule this other work. I haven't talked to him about the spring yet, but I'm sure he could probably pop in here in March, and that might be the better time to do it, simply because you're moving into the growing season instead of moving out. If we get any delays and again, I mean, I know we're busy in June, but we're also busy in August and September. And lately,
Much
we've been
busier.
busier in October. And that's getting towards the close of the season. So if we have any delays or anything in that later window, that means I have to keep the pump system up and running longer into November. And I usually don't like to do that into November, beginning of December, because it costs us more in electricity, but it also could cost us more in broken pipes and stuff if things freeze. So the spring time period might be the best time. I sent an email out last week to all the selectmen. I believe I copied you on it, Dave, and the town administrator, mentioning that we, what the contractor would like to get. And I got one response back from one of the selectmen, and he had some concern about the August time frame, and his question was how much it would impact the play. So we need to do 2 things. When I went, after the last meeting we had here, I went before the Board of Selectmen, and the question was how we're going to determine, we need to determine how the project was going to be funded. So what they wanted from this committee was how the project was going to be funded, number one. And number two, we need to get this project back on the Board of Selectmen's agenda for Tuesday, the 4th of February. Because we had one bidder. If we're going to do the project, then we have to give the person, a notification of when we're going to do it, so they can, they can get ready and mobilize and fit it into their schedule. So that's where we stand with the bunker project. So we need to make a decision about the timing, and we need to tell them, explain to the Board of Selectmen how we intend to pay for it, and then we have to get back in front of them on the 4th.
What do you guys think?
What do we got in there?
We have 100 in that article, right?
Roundabouts, right? Yeah.
Give or take.
So I think, to me, there's a couple of things, like, one, do we agree that we want to do this for this price, right? I think we
I
agree.
don't think we have a choice on that. No one else.
I mean, the work needs to be done, so just do we
Yeah.
bite the bullet and spend this much money doing it? Do we not do it, which is probably just gonna keep getting more
It's
expensive.
just gonna
more
go up
pushed down
next
the
year,
road,
so.
Right.
You know what? We had one bid.
What's the better time to get it done, Mark?
I think we do it in
Spring?
March.
I think so.
That's what I think.
Yeah, like I said,
The
Dave and I
earlier
talked
the
about,
better?
Yeah.
we
How
talked
much-
about it the other day, and
Question, how much disruption of play at all?
well, I mean, it depends. I would, my preference would be to start them on 7 and 10. 10 is going to
do
be
that.
the most
Start-
significant of the projects, because if you know,
Oh,
if
you
you
meant him.
remember looking at,
You meant
for the contractors,
All right,
start them on
gotcha.
10,
Us.
simply because the approach on the 10th hole is going to be widened and taken out to the right, and it's going to encompass the bunker. So you're going to have more detailed work there. 7 is not that that difficult. It's off to the side of the green. You will have to do some cutting into the embankment to get the proper slope. Same thing with 6. It's not just you're not just working on the footprint of the existing bunker, because in order to get it shaped properly, you have to cut back into the embankment so you can roll it properly, so it's safe for equipment, so you can raise it or lower it to the height that you
During
want, and so
play,
on.
do you plan on putting a temp green or still use?
Well, you could, depending on, that would be discussed with the contractor. Primarily,
Guess what he
you put it, I wouldn't want to have more than one temporary hole at a time. So if we're working on the 10th hole, we'd have that temporary. When it was finished, we could, obviously he'd move over to the 7th hole. The 10th hole, for instance, it wouldn't be temporary, but we'd have to keep, people would have to, lift, and we'd have to have drop areas
Yeah.
once the sod needed, and so on and so
So
on.
you're gonna do one completed before we go into the next one?
Yeah, I'm not gonna, I can talk with Dan. I don't want to have three different holes halfway done.
No.
We'll have, like I said, 10 is the most amount of work. We do that one first, and then 7, just because it's right next door. The only problem with 7 is there's going to be a significant number of tree roots that come out of there. Which is, you're going to have to do a little bit of digging to get those out. But we reshape that bunker, tie that into the back of the 8th tee, and then we go over to the 6th hole.
Should you tie in the tree work when you're doing 10 with the construction work, Because didn't you want to?
Well, the tree work on the 10th hole is so far away from the green, it ain't gonna make a difference.
It's to the right of it.
I mean, it's in the waste area over there.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there's several tall trees there that block the sun coming up onto the 10th green. I mean, they're not even. I mean, if they're not in play, if you're in those trees, then it's
Him
awful.
getting into 7 and 10, is that going to be through 8?
Well, we'll probably come through 7 and 10 we'll probably come down through the 10th hole. See, he won't be using, he's not going to be using, DPW sized trucks.
Yeah.
He's going to, this guy's been doing golf course work for 40 years, so he'll be using Pronovos
Yeah.
trailers like we have to
Yeah.
move material back and forth. He has an excavator. Depending on the work, he either bring his rubber tire excavator or the big one.
Mm-hmm.
So, that would be the only thing. We probably, if he brings the big one with the, we'd have to walk it down there, which basically means, setting up planks
Plywood,
and,
yeah.
plywood and stuff. But once it's down there, you do 7 and 10, then it's there. You
Right.
cut behind, you go behind the 7th green, or to get over to the 7, you just go behind there.
Do you have plans for the front bunker on 10? So is the lip coming down and then it's all gonna be fairway?
Yeah, the whole, I don't have them here, but
So
that's
no
all
front
in the,
bunker.
huh?
No front bunker, just a side bunker. Is that what's happening? I'm just trying to envision it.
Hmm.
So it's gonna
There's
look
two
like the
bunkers
eighth
there.
hole.
Right.
It's gonna look like the eighth, correct? Like the fairway comes around?
No, both of those two bunkers are still going to be there.
I'm just gonna widen
Are you
the
changing the
fairway.
slope?
That's what I'm trying to
Let me
picture.
see.
It's gonna widen.
I
the
think he's gonna
approach.
Yeah.
flatten
So
it.
you take some of
So
that
you can
bunker off on the
mow it.
right side, the first one. Right, yeah, you must,
Let's see.
On the left side of it.
on the right side of 10, the first
And
bunker.
then seven's just gonna be a
That's
simple
hole
bunker.
number
Some of the
three.
left side of
That's
the
hole
bunker.
Yeah, the pine trees that were there, all the tree roots.
Yeah.
I know, I've seen
So-
that.
Yeah,
It's great.
they're-
Yeah, it's right.
Right.
Yep.
Which is basically
Right.
between,
Then when you
I
look
thought
at
it would be
it's the
cool,
left
I know it's
front.
spitballing and probably
Alright.
shouldn't do this.
Now,
Right, but when you look at it, it's the
Front.
right bunker.
this is
but
the,
it's
this is
left
the original, I mean, I can show it up
Yeah.
for people to
Yeah.
look, but here's the, you're changing the shape of the front side green bunker. You can see here where, this shows you here where the approach is coming in, and the approach is going to be extended all the way up through and connect to the right side of the green. This bunker here is going to be shrunk a little bit to provide you with the space. This is the outside dotted line, that's the existing. This is the existing there. That bunker is going to be shrunk somewhat so you can get a better roll. All the numbers
Gotcha.
here, these are all the, you know, the design specs. So that has all the, measurements for the,
Glare.
and the elevations for the,
Kill the lights.
for the contractor. If you go over to 7, this is the seventh hole, where it's going to be, I think that's the 7th hole, yeah, that's the 7th hole. It's going to be made somewhat smaller, and we're going to widen the bottom portion of the approach somewhat. And
How
then
about
you
make
go,
the approach go right into the eighth tee? That would look cool.
7.
and well, that's, you can't do that now. Because,
Trees are gone.
but those, I mean, I don't have a, you know, if I had a printer available, I can print them right out for you. You could look at it that way. But,
Yeah.
yeah, so getting down there, doing the 10th hole first, then moving over to the 7th hole, and then back up the hill to the 6th hole.
Mm-hmm.
So my suggestion would be March.
Same here.
Yeah.
I agree with that too.
Just like last year with all the work you did on
Mm-hmm.
8 and 9 and 2.
That was, that came out phenomenal.
So if we, I'm just thinking of paying for this, if we had the article, which was for work just like this, was like 98, 100, so it's right around 100, right? So
It's right around $100,000.
So we
Yeah.
need the 37, you could always put in for the request to take it out of the 100 that we hold as well, too, or
Right.
if you had, you know.
But like we were saying too
or
earlier,
save- Or saves
You
another
have the
week.
extras
Yep.
out of the,
That money that you guys are talking about, because I'm not sure, just getting in, can that be used for anything? Is that the idea of it, or was it
From the article.
for maintenance?
The article was for equipment and cost maintenance, so like upgrades, and infrastructure upgrades.
So this would be part of it?
Oh, absolutely, it was specifically for bunkers, cart paths, equipment, things like that.
and just to clarify too, in the budget we have that $100,000 account there, line item, and we don't touch it unless there's an emergency. A pump goes, one of the
Yeah.
mowers like goes on fire, need to replace it. We have to get approval, but we don't have to get town vote. It's there
So it's
as a
not like
reserve.
grab it and use it to the clubhouse, is what I'm trying to say, right?
Well, the thing about the article,
I'm
you
just
have to
trying
be, you know,
Think outside the box.
something that I think the Board of Selectmen have discussed in the past. Two things about articles. First of all, they're tired of approving articles at town meeting and they don't get spent for 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 years. You know, and they're seriously thinking about rescinding the money in the articles that haven't been spent, number one. Number two, they want you to be specific in your article, X number of dollars for this particular thing, X number of dollars of that, and so on. So they have a better idea of, instead of just giving, you know, somebody say, okay, I just want a blanket number to, because even though an article get approved at town meeting, you have to come back to the Board of Selectmen and propose what you're going to spend it on so they can approve it. So,
So it can't get pulled out and used for budget?
no, you can't take money out of the article
No.
and use it for a budget. It has to
Articles
be,
just for those
It
it has to
specific.
be
Specific.
used specifically for those items that were indicated in the budget. And again, in order to use that funds, you have to come back to the Board of Selectmen and make your proposal to use the funds, and they have to approve it before you can actually allocate the funds to.
And they basically already approved the last.
Well, the article got, they approved it, they considered it to a point.
That's what it
I
seemed
mean,
like.
I look back here
I
at
watched the
my,
meeting.
notes from the, that I took from the Board of Selectmen's meeting here. First question was how to pay for it.
Mhm.
And, and we discussed we discussed the bid results, and they wanted me to call the contractor and find out what they termed to be his drop dead date, when he definitely needed to know. And that's coming up in beginning of February. Because like I said, he's got other people on hold right now, and to put them in, and I know through talking with our architect's got 3 or 4 projects on his plate that they already requested this contractor to do those projects. So he's very busy. And the reason he gets most municipal work is because, number one, he does a good job, but number two, he knows how to fill out the paperwork better than other people. So. But that's where we stand with that, and we really, depending on what we decide here, we need to get in front of the Board of Selectmen on the 4th of February.
And I think, getting back to what you said, Steve, when we first asked for the article, this is a clear example of the types of things we wanted to do with these funds. So if we all agree that, he knows a little bit more than we thought, it's not gonna go down, so if we're comfortable with it,
It needs to get done.
I would take a
needs to
motion
be
that we
done,
want
yep.
to approve this bid to, no, it's not Tim's, but the official name of his company. What is it, Weed and Feed, Steve, something like that?
Excuse me?
Weed and
Yeah,
Feed,
Weed and
Inc.
Feed. So-
Yeah, well, the company is Weed and Feed Incorporated,
Right, business as
DHT Golf Services.
So I would entertain someone to make the motion that we officially award the contract, obviously pending the selectmen's approval, but to Weed and Feed Incorporated, doing business as DHT Golf Services for $137,000. Someone want to actually make that motion?
Yeah, I'll make the motion that we award the contract of $137,000 to Weed and Feed Inc., DBA DHT Golf Services, to make the renovations to hole 6, 7, and 10 bunkers
I'll second it.
in the spring.
Yes, in the spring, in March.
Now, I don't know what the request process is. Does the request to get on the Board of Selectmen's agenda have to come from the committee?
I don't think, I mean, I know.
Because I had a meeting with Mr. Kelly earlier in the week on a couple, budget questions having to do with unemployment and so on. And these topics came up, and he said, we'll make sure, he said the next meeting of the Board of Selectmen that you would possibly be able to get on would be the 4th of February. So he said, make sure you have the committee request that they, this item and one other item be on that meeting agenda. So I said, okay. I mean, I can contact the office tomorrow.
If you wouldn't mind, you could contact and then follow up with an email and just include me on the email, just saying that per our meeting tonight, we've taken this vote and would like to put it in front of the Board of Selectmen at their next available meeting on February 4th.
Yeah, okay. So that takes care of,
Wait, we have a motion and a second, we next we vote. So then, all in favor?
Aye.
Just wanted to do that.
so only, next item is equipment, and the only reason I listed equipment is because the Toro Multi-Pro sprayer, the 5800, 300 gallon sprayer, is down in Enfield, Connecticut, waiting on a decision. I know that this committee approved the purchase of the sprayer with a $5 buyout lease. The selectmen did not make a decision either way when I presented it to them at the last meeting that I attended. So I would like to get, I'd like to get that, the cost is the same, the cost hasn't changed, although I did get a trade-in value from Turf Products for the Smithco. which is $4,500 was what they'd be willing to give us in trade if we traded that machine in. Again, we need to get this back in front of the Board of Selectmen, because I need to know from them whether or not they're going, seeing how's the committee approved it, whether or not they're going to allow the purchase to move forward or not.
So, I mean, we did take the vote in
Yeah.
December, and we approved it, so I don't
It's
think
up to
anything
the
has
selectmen.
changed on our side, so I think we just.
So I will get back on their agenda for that, and try to move that forward.
And as far as the funding, since we voted to lease it, it would
Yeah.
just be wrapped into the lease payment schedule that we didn't have to make sure.
Yeah, the one
we
thing
didn't miss
the one
budget.
thing I would mention, it was down in the notes of the budget numbers that if I can find it here, is under number 2 in the notes, the equipment lease for the Toro sprayer would add $17,540 as a one-time annual expense over 5 years. We save money if we do one annual expense as
Right.
opposed to
Yeah, I
multiple
think
monthly.
we okayed
That's what we
that,
Yeah.
okayed,
right?
yeah.
And do
Yeah,
they
no,
need
that
to-
was okay.
Yeah.
They need to revise that amount based on the trade-in value now?
Well, that depends on how, there's two ways in which you can treat the trade-in value. One, you can take the trade-in value off of the net price, which would mean then that, yes, you would have to recalculate what that cost is going to be over 5 years. Or you can take the trade-in value in terms of what they call distributor credit, or credit on account. So they'd be willing to give us credit on our account at Turf Products Corporation, which is our Toro vendor from Enfield, Connecticut, and that would cover, you could purchase items, whether they be equipment related items or irrigation related items. I think that, given the greater flexibility, I think that would be, would in the end provide you more than, it's not really going to significantly
Right.
reduce that 7,000.
I know Turf Products is a company you use quite often, so.
Yeah, well, in most of our, 2/3 of our equipment's red,
Right.
so,
So I don't think we need to vote again, because we voted this in.
yeah, so
December,
we don't
so
need to
just
vote again.
reaffirm to them.
I just wanted to bring it up, because again, it's not one of those items that I'm gonna request to get on to speak to the Board of Selectmen on. As far as aeration, I included the aeration planning and the proposed dates for Maintenance Mondays in this, in here again. Again, they're proposed dates. A lot of that's going to hinge on the weather and what have you. And again, like Dana said, I proposed these rates going by what appeared to be what was on the 2024 schedule. I don't know if people changed their outing dates and times. So the Maintenance Mondays aren't cast in stone, but you will notice that a significant amount of the aeration-related activities are done in conjunction with Maintenance Mondays, so we only have a singular disruption as opposed to two.
I only think, Steve,
Did I-
eye on the calendar, right? So
I think I messed up April.
I'm looking at, June, you still had June 30th and then July 7th, which was 2 Mondays in a row on either side of July 4th, so I thought we were only gonna do one of those two.
Yeah, I thought I corrected that, because I had your notes sitting in front of me today. It was probably about the time the bloody sink in the shop broke and we had to take it out. So, if I go back to the last meeting, just, come on, where is it? Yeah, you said, so the 21st was Patriots' Day, so we took that one out.
Yep.
And then the 5th and the 19th in May were okay. June, we had the 9th and the 30th, keep the 9th and get rid of the 30th. I didn't get rid of the 30th. So that shouldn't be on the schedule that I included in your packets. And July 7th and 28th is still there. So the 30th should actually be the one that's not there in June.
Okay.
That's the only one?
Oh, it's on his new one doesn't have it.
Still on the last page.
Oh, on that page.
So the top page, this page
I was
is
like,
out
it's
of
not even
date.
on here.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's just the aeration
Yeah,
schedule.
you're right.
The second page, if you flip that over,
Yeah, we got.
those are the actual
After
dates.
that,
All right,
it's not-
Some of them
scratch the
coincide.
30th?
Not
and
So
this-
the 30th is scratched.
Yeah.
And then in September, I already made that change, because the
29th
first was
only.
Labor Day, so we had to just have the 29th in September.
Alright.
So yeah, the only change to the schedule that I provided you today was to X out the 30th of June.
Good, because Team Noah has June 30th.
Yeah. I figured there's gonna be one of them.
Even without that, I just didn't want 2 Mondays in a row around the 4th.
Yes, and your aeration dates are
The aeration dates are again,
12th,
the,
13th of May,
yeah.
19th of May.
If you look at you have the May 12th and 13th.
Yep.
It's a Monday and a Tuesday. That's basically normally the time that we reserve at that time of year. Then June 9th, which is, again, that's one of the maintenance Mondays. But the June 9th, that's a venting with a bayonet time. That's
Yeah.
not a disruptive, that's not a pulling a cord, doing all that kind of stuff. It's just a venting, so we'll be able to, that's why we do it on the maintenance Monday, so we can get the whole course done.
May 19th, listed on your second sheet.
Yeah, that's it.
May 19th is listed there, but there's not an aeration activity or anything like that. That's just a regular maintenance Monday. Unless we have, again, if we have an outing scheduled, then.
No.
no.
Right.
And then July 7th is a Monday. That's another venting.
Yeah, I'm just going in chronological order.
Oh, I see what's happening.
June
The
9th,
aeration, yeah. These are the other maintenance Mondays.
July 7th, July 28th. Yep.
July 28th, yeah, but that, again, July 7th is a greens venting. July 28th is probably going to be a fairway pesticide application.
I'm just making sure they're in the book so that we don't have any complaints to the selectmen and everything is clean. So 11th and 25th of August, September 29th,
And the 6th.
October 6th and 20th. 6th, deep, got that
Is the
already?
greens
Yeah.
deep time.
All right, we're locked. They're covered.
Nice.
Confirmed.
And the last two things I had were just housekeeping things. You'll see the memorandum in there that came from the town administrator. That's the important dates in the next couple of months. And then the last thing in the packet was from our town planner and the Acushnet master plan. They're going to have a series of meetings. You can see there, February 13th, March 13th, April 10th. They say it says the second Thursday of every month. In the email that I got today, they requested that someone from representing golf be at that first meeting on February 13th. So it's at 6 o'clock here in this room. So we either determine if somebody from the committee wants to go, or if you want one of us to go. They just requested that somebody be there for that master plan meeting. And when I went through the agenda, went through the other dates, they didn't have a request from the golf committee. So.
You don't have to meet that anymore.
Two removed.
I won't be here.
You guy gets the job.
I'm sure before.
I mean, I could go if I had to. It's at 6 o'clock at
Goes
night, so I'd
downhill,
have to
Neil.
come
So
back.
we got someone behind you now.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's
Let's wait till the next meeting. We can
Yeah, okay.
Have Adam do it.
We don't have to wait, we don't have to wait, we'll just tell them.
just tell them.
It's very easy.
It's
Yeah, it's really- yeah, somebody-
it's Tuesday,
Tuesday,
the 13th of February. Yeah, Tuesday, the 13th of February.
Thursday.
This is
Thursday.
it's a Thursday. Excuse me.
I can
Yeah.
do it either way.
And it's the first phase, which is the transportation / services and facilities. And they'll have somebody from the DPW there, and 3 or 4 other folks there. So
Well, the next thing was, we already took a vote on the bunker repair bid that I put on the agenda. Invoice approval process, I put that on there, really, that's because for years, Ed always, also approved the invoices. But Dana and Steve are reviewing them first, they're coding where they belong in the budget. And every other department, basically head in town, the department head signs their invoices, they come here to town hall and get processed. So the town administrator just wanted us to make sure, since it's kind of a change in our own practice, that as a board, I think that that's the way our department should operate as well. And get the updates as to what it is. If they have any questions, I would imagine sort of have to ask us first.
Sure.
So I would like to take a motion, just so it's on record, that Dana and Steve are authorized to sign and approve their own invoices and submit them to town hall for payment.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
That's a good idea.
That way we're not waiting for, certainly if any one of us want to see it, we can. but-
Sure.
But it's not waiting for, someone of us to stop by town hall and be an additional signature.
It streamlines it a little bit, and
I
it
mean,
helps.
the
it
streamline
helps-
could help.
It helps the folks in the accounting, it would be one person in the accounting
And I
department.
made the point, to
Makes their
Jamie,
life a little easier
the
too.
fire chief approves the fire department bill, the police chief approves the police department bill, so why not
These
the
guys.
two co-chiefs of the golf department? All right, so we have a motion by John, seconded by Andrew, all in favor?
Aye.
Clubhouse update, I was actually on the phone with the architect in the parking lot before our meeting tonight.
Oh, good.
He apologized for the delay, they had some, right before Christmas, they had some big technical, anyway, they got hacked, their network had worked, so they were down for a couple weeks. He wants to contact Danny, he said he might even call you tomorrow,
All
or
right.
email you. He,
I think I have his number too. I'll reach out
that's
to him.
correct. So he and one other person want to come and do a site visit, if we have any plans, just so if they know, like, any underground utilities, where the septic, things like that, and just to get a basic plan so they can start thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Because we all have an idea of where we think this would be sited for him to start looking, but he also wants to know if we have anything in writing.
Sure.
And he also wants to come, I know he came out here once before, but again, in the daylight, just kind of, now that he knows that they have the job, to come do it, and he's gonna give me his written proposal as well. He just had a couple subcontractors he had to wrap up their estimates for as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I should have that from
Good.
him, he told me within a week, so we'll have his price proposal before our next meeting, but he also wanted to call and see if he could come visit you guys on site someday in the next couple of weeks as well.
Perfect.
That's the update on that. And I do want to, I meant to start the meeting with this. Since our last meeting, both Ed and Manny have retired from the committee, two long-serving members. Been here since day one, and I really just wanted to acknowledge them for their, their time and effort that they put in for 26 years, 27 years at this point.
Well, more than that,
Well,
right?
Because it was the planning before it was even built.
Right.
Close to 30 years, so.
Yeah, there aren't too many residents that put that kind of commitment into the
No,
community.
And I know we had, even amongst the committee, we butt heads every once in a while, but Ed and Manny certainly put in a lot of time over the years. I just wanted to acknowledge that and thank them for that. And hopefully they'll get to see a new clubhouse, in the very near horizon out there. The way I framed it, we've gotten through the first 25 years. Let's set ourselves up for the next 25 years. Again, I just wanted to thank them. And then the only other thing is, what do we want to have for our next meeting date?
I'd like to thank Neil.
I'm sorry, I wrote that, that's also written on here.
For joining us.
If you weren't here the last time, Andrew was here the last time.
For joining us.
Neil Downey, I meant to say that, everybody,
Yeah.
Neil Downey, newest member, and Adam Heavey was voted in this week also, but he couldn't make it tonight because he's out of town on business. But thank you to Neil and Adam for wanting to volunteer and serve on this committee with us, and again, be part of us moving this course forward for the next 25 years. Great. Sorry about that. I had to write it down right here. Yeah.
No problem.
You're okay?
Yeah, jump to this car.
Where you gonna be 20 years from now, John? Huh? Where you gonna be 20 years from now?
He'll be out there. on the
Probably
ladies'
at
team.
Pine Grove Cemetery.
All right. If you want to meeting in a few weeks, probably. Right?
The 13th, I'm not here, or
Right, and
14th.
the 13th is going to be that meeting
Yeah,
for
right
the
there.
town thing anyway. So then that's like the 20th or the
6th or
27th. I mean, the 6th is just a couple
Yeah,
weeks
it's
away.
not, it's too soon.
20th.
So probably the 20th or 27th, either one of those is fine with me.
How about the 20th then?
20th, better.
All right, so
February 20th?
February 20th,
CVS.
4:30 here.
Sure.
Yeah, February
That
20th?
works.
Yep.
So Feb 20 at 4:30. All right, and then just a motion to adjourn. A motion to adjourn.
Neil.
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll second it.
Aye.
All in
See?
favor?
Aye.
Thank you.